My name is Olivia Ford, as you guys know. I'm 22 years old. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Even though I'm young, you guys can see I've been through a lot of things, both good and bad. I've made decisions that have totally screwed up my life, and then I made the decisions that helped get me back to where I am today. Just give you a little bit of background about me. I was born in Seattle, Washington, to a man and a woman who put me up for adoption when I was a baby, along with my little sister. We were pretty much in foster care, and I was adopted when I was 2.5. The family that adopted me also decided to adopt my younger sister with me, so we were both adopted into the same home. The family that adopted us was now, I think, is a great family. They're a Christian family. They raised us with morals and values, but they were also very strict. We went to church 4 times a week. We had Bible study every morning before school, and would have to do our prayers and before we ate, before we went to bed. So we was very Christian. But because of that, I was a very good kid. I got good grades, I went to school, I wasn't into boys, I was very into like sports and my education. I was one of those kids that at lunchtime, I would eat my lunch really fast so that I could run to the library and read some books. When I got into junior high, that's probably when the trouble started. I got a little bit more into boys, and I started getting mad because I couldn't stay out late like my friends. I had to be home by the time the street lights came on. And that's probably when I started to rebel. I started to argue with my teachers. I started to argue with my parents. I started getting in fights at school, and that's when I started like getting suspended and stuff like that. I would sneak out at night, and even though I still thought it was pretty innocent, I would just go to my friends' houses. I mean, it was still girls, and we would play video games, or we would talk about, I don't know what we talked about. But it was innocent to me. It was still cool. One night when I snuck out, I had just started 10th grade. It was like 2 days into my 10th grade year. I snuck out, and I was out with my friends, and we were talking, and I came back home at about 2 o'clock in the morning. I walked into the house, and I saw that the living room light was on, and I could see the silhouettes of my parents sitting in the living room. And I got so scared. I had never been caught sneaking out. So I was like, okay, I'm going to go back to my friend's house, and I'm going to wait until morning when my parents are at work, and I'm just going to go in the house then. That way, I don't know what my thinking was. I thought maybe it would be easier for me to go in the house when they weren't there, and then just to walk in, and I'd be like, no, I was here the whole time. Rather than, my brain wasn't working right. Rather than me, walk in and they're staring at me. So I left. I came back the next morning, and my parents were still there. So I left again. This actually continued for about 4 days. I would come back, they would be there, I would leave. I was so scared to go home. I was thinking I was going to be grounded until I was 18, which I'd pretty much already been grounded until I was 18 5 or 6 times. Or I would have to memorize Bible scriptures, which was a really big one. Now I realize that I was tripping. I decided that I would just run away. I was thinking, okay, well, they're just obviously just going to be home all the time when I come back, so I might as well just leave. And, I'll get to have all the freedom I want. I can go to all the dances I want. I can hang out late. And so I ran away. I decided this was officially when I decided I was running away. So I left. I was still kind of what my friends called a stupid runaway, because I decided that I was still going to go to school. I was still going to go to youth group. I didn't want to totally screw up my life. I just wanted to prove to my parents that I could run away from home and still do what I needed to do. So I did that. I woke up every morning. I went to school. About 2 weeks into my 10th grade year, I was in my class, and the teacher says, Olivia, to the principal's office. Halfway down the hallway, my friend's like, Olivia, the police are in the office. They're going to take you home. And I got angry. I had so many emotions. I mean, I was like, man, my parents wanted me home. Why did they have to call the police? They could have just asked me to come home. I would have seriously, by this point, gone home if they would have just asked me. But I would see them in the grocery store. They wouldn't look at me. They wouldn't say anything. They never once told me they wanted me to come home. And so by this point, I was feeling hurt. I felt like they didn't want me. They were maybe more happy that I was gone and just were going to call the police to take me to jail and just get me out of their hair. So that was when I saw my friend in the hallway, I left the school. I decided I'm not going to jail. I'm not going home. I'm officially like, I'm not ever going back. So I ran out of school that day, and that is the day that I dropped out of high school. I went through a lot when I ran away. I wanted to be on my own and doing what I wanted, but I was still scared. Like, I was hopping friends' houses, and I would stay until their parent would be like, aren't you supposed to be at home? And I would be like, oh yeah, I'm going home today. And I would leave and go to a different friend's house. Sorry. I probably exhausted all of my friends' houses after about 3 weeks. They all knew, like, oh no, she's doing something terrible. She's not going home. So I started staying with a man that I had just met and started dating. He was 12 years older than I was at the time. And if I had to pick a point where it just totally got out of hand, it was when I started staying with him. He was very abusive. He used to hit me. He would play Russian roulette when he got mad with the gun only to my head. And when I was 15 years old, I started selling crack cocaine because he did. That's also when I started using different drugs. I experimented with probably every single drug I could think of that didn't require needles to be put in my arm, for 2 reasons. One was because I am still, to this day, deathly afraid of needles. I can barely even go to the doctor and get my flu shot without breaking into tears. And also because in my head, that was always the real addicts that used needles. Those were always the ones that you saw on the streets. You know, homeless was the ones that put the needles. So I was like, no, I'm not doing those. I made a lot of new friends over the next year that I stayed with him, or so I called them my friends. 100% of them were drug dealers, prostitutes, other runaways, people that boosted for me, and stuff like, people like that. I also lost a lot of friends due to overdoses, shootings, robberies gone bad, and just plain violence, gang violence, and stuff like that. I helped my boyfriend sell drugs. We also did burglaries, and we robbed people for a living. It's crazy because people would say I was different. They would tell me that I was a thug with a conscience. They'd be like, Olivia, you are the only person I know that won't sell to a pregnant woman. You are the only person I know that's not going to sell to somebody that's young. You are the only person I know that can beat somebody up and then be like, do we need to go to the hospital? Are you okay? As I dug myself deeper and deeper into the street life, I saw things no teenager should have to see, and really no adult should even have to see half of the things I saw. I did more drugs in that year than a lot of people have ever been seen in their lives. I saw the amounts of drugs day to day that some people only see in movies. Honestly, there were countless times I was surprised that I even woke up. I mixed drugs that shouldn't have been mixed. I robbed people who didn't deserve to be robbed, and I hurt the people that loved me the most. As I traveled down this windy road, I was also creating quite the criminal record, complete with many assaults and thefts, mixed in with, I think I had a burglary that was reduced to an assault theft. And eventually I got the big one, the one I call the big one. This is the day that I got my possession of cocaine, and this was my first felony. While I was locked up, this is when I started thinking. I was like, is this really the life I want? Do I really want to live like all of my friends are living, or not living? I mean, no one wakes up one day and decides, hey, I think I'll just start robbing people for a living. Nobody goes through kindergarten and tells their teacher, hey, I think when I grow up, I think I want to be a drug dealer. And no one is happy at the thought that, hey, I might do so many drugs tonight that I might not wake up tomorrow. But this is the life that I live every day. It was the normal to me, but I didn't know what to do by this point. I wanted my life back. I wanted to just rewind and go back to that day that I ran away and just go in the house at 2 o'clock in the morning. But it was too late. I had already hurt my family so much. I had already hurt all my friends. I had burned every single bridge that had tried to take me to freedom. So I still decided to act stubborn. I got appointed the sweetest little lady, Shoshana, as my lawyer. I still remember her to this day as the first person who really asked me what my dreams were. She was the first person who I felt didn't judge me for what I had done in the past, didn't look down at me, but wanted to look towards my future and what I could accomplish in the future. I got out of juvie on the grounds that I complete drug court. During drug court, I would have to complete 3 phases to where I would have to go to court and report, and I would have to be in school, and I would have to take UAs. This might have worked to help straighten me out, except for when I got out of juvie, I was kind of back on the streets, and so I was hanging around the same people I was hanging around before. I was still a runaway, and I kind of fell right back into the same thing that same night I got out. I started selling drugs again. My thoughts were, well, my hotel room's not going to pay for itself. I have to do something, and I sure can't get a job now. I was still going to court, but after having way too many UAs, I'm not quite sure how many, but apparently it was too many, I was sent to inpatient by the judge. I was so angry at everybody in the world for sending me, especially my probation officer, Jocelyn, right there. That's her fault. I went to jail in my head. But I went, and I decided that, you know what, this is a place, I have a place to live, I have a place that I can, fix my life. I don't have to pay for my, room and board. And so I went there, and I completed inpatient with only, a couple little bumps, but they were still little bumps. And then after that, I got sent to a sober living house. Although you could say my life was, I was turning around, I was doing much better, I still had an attitude problem, and I ended up getting into a fight with a boy one day and got kicked out of the sober living house. It was actually a day before my 16th birthday. So I got to spend Sweet 16 in a jumpsuit. From there I was sent to jail, and when I got out of there, I don't know what I was saying. No, I was sent into a group home. From the group home, I was still trying to finish up my drug court, because apparently I still had to finish that. I was sort of dialed in by then to make my life better. Even though I had gotten kicked out, I decided that was only a pothole, and I was going to get over it, and I was going to be fine. So I was now beginning to see that there were all these people around me that were trying to help me, and I could see it better. I saw that I could trust them, that they weren't, just there because they were paid to be there and paid to do this, and that was kind of in my head that that's your job, that's what you have to do, is to be there for me. But I got a bunch of different people around me. I had my probation officer, I had mental health counselor, and then there was just the different programs that they put in, like I was in Royal for a while. I had gotten back into school, I finished up my drug court, and I had just gotten a job as an assistant preschool teacher at a home daycare. So I was feeling pretty good about myself by then. I loved the support most of the time. Sometimes I felt like I had just a lot of people in my life that were adults, and that kind of, I didn't really like it all the time. I stopped seeing the mental health counselor, and I was paired up with my mentor, Hazel. I felt like at that point giving me a mentor gave me a different kind of person in my life. It wasn't a person that was paid to be there. So even though there were paid people that I had realized by this point did, want to be there, this was like, wow, there's really a person there that's not paid and is really just there to be there for me. And then when we would talk, she wouldn't ever try to, tell me what to do, and she would never really even give me advice unless I asked for it. So that felt good that she would just sit there and listen. I received my GED because I had missed all my high school. It was not taking too long to complete high school. So I went back and got my GED, and I also graduated drug court in February of 2006. As I said before, I can't think of just one person to thank or to give credit to for helping me to where I am today. It was a lot of people, even down to my parents had come back in my life for the most part, and they were talking to me. I had my sibling, I had probation officer, Shoshana, my lawyer, and Hazel, and Dean. I don't know quite what his title was, but I loved Dean. And so I was getting a lot better by this time. Now, like any human, I'm not perfect, and in 2005, I met a guy named Rico. We started dating, and 6 months after we met, I found out I was pregnant. I was pretty much devastated. I was like, I just screwed up my whole entire life. But I decided I was going to make the best of it. I was not going to let this baby grow up how I grew up, not having a biological family to look to. And so I decided I had to really fix up my life and make sure I stayed good for, if it wasn't for me, I could at least, for the baby. Needless to say, me and Rico got married in February of 2007, and we had a little girl later that year. Now our kids are, we have a 4-year-old boy named Darius and a 3-year-old girl named Imani, and I can tell they are times 10. They are me times 10. I did it. And I still work for the same daycare that I got a job for. It'll be 5 years in January. I'm now like the head assistant, and I'm pursuing a degree in criminal justice at Bellevue College. It's taken me a lot of years because of the kids in the school, but I'm still going, so slow and steady wins the race. I'd be lying if I said that my life was a breeze. Like now I'm clean and I'm good and life is just a snap, but it's not. I mean, people think that once you get sober, you can just live your life and you're all better, but it's hard for me. I can't go downtown with my kids because I'm scared that I might run into the people I robbed before and they'll recognize me and my kids will get into it. I can't go into certain areas because people will recognize me, although I've never had anybody recognize me for some reason. But I walk past places I used to deal at, I drive past hotels I used to stay at, and it's hard because it's everywhere. I see it on the TV. I still talk to a couple of my friends that I used to talk to back then, and they're doing the exact same thing. If I don't hear from them, I know that I can go to the kingcounty.gov and they're probably in jail. I just kind of had to reach a point in my life where I didn't want that life anymore, where the consequences of that life were far outweighing the benefits of it. My hope is that someday my story can help somebody else that's going through the same things I can. I thought I was at a point where it was pretty much like, you could just forget about it. You should just not waste your time on me. I'm pretty much gone. I'm either going to die or be in jail, and you should go help somebody else. But like, as long as you're still alive, it's never too late. And there's always people out there and resources out there to help you. And so, I guess now I live for my family. I live for me, of course, but I want to create a future for my kids to grow up in. I don't want my kids to have to go through the stuff that I went through and am still going through. So, I'm about to cry on my last sentence. But I'm happy. Like, I'm happy with my life. I'm happy when I go to sleep because I know that I might die in my sleep, but I'm not going to die from an overdose. I'm not going to die because somebody breaks down the door and is trying to shoot me because I stole their drugs. I'm happy because I know that I'm free. I know that my kids are happy. I know that my husband's happy, and I'm happy when I wake up because I know that I'm still alive. I know that I'm doing what I need to do to better my life, and I know that I have people that love me, and those people helped me to love myself.